Hello everyone, and welcome to our video on how to clean out your freshwater tank. If you're new to the channel, thank you for being here. Hope you guys consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. And for all of you that are been supporting us for the whole time, thank you very much. So we're going to get started on some of the steps to clean your freshwater tank. It's really not that difficult of a process. Some people hire it out, and really when it's all said and done, it's probably one of the easier things you can do. There's just quite a few steps though that you have to follow. In our case, we are using a actual most people, if you look at online, a lot of people use just standard bleach, which is totally fine to do. The problem with using bleach is it takes a little bit longer. It's a little bit longer of a process. You have to keep it in your tank for about 12 hours, and then it's also not really great to have that in your hot water tank. It can cause some rusting and what have you with the bleach. So we actually use a product called brite Aqua. We'll leave a link below, and it's the process is a little bit different here, and it's a little bit easier on the system, and it came highly recommended to us. So it's just what we use, and it seems to work pretty well.
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pop the tank. This is a fresh water, and as you can see, no water is coming out of the tank, which means our tank is completely empty.
Once you verify that your freshwater tank is empty, then you're going to come into the trailer, you're going to put on your water pump, and then you're going to turn on your faucets and see if you have any water coming through any of the lines, which in this case were pretty much empty. So we're going to check the sinks in both the kitchen and the bathroom. We're going to try to flush the toilet, and then also the shower. Nothing?
Nothing. Not actually, a little bit still.
Yeah.
Not much. Basically empty.
Alright, so now we verified that all of the water is empty. So we're going to go ahead and turn off the water pump, and then we're going to go out and start filling up the tank. Alright, so then the next step then, after everything's drained, what we're going to do is we're going to fill the freshwater tank up to about half full, and that way when we put in the solution, we can dilute it with water. And then at that point, what we'll do is, once we put in the solution, then what we'll do is we'll fill this water tank all the way up, and then that way while we're driving to our destination, it can swoosh around in there and get that tank all cleaned out.
So we've already filled the tank halfway full. It's part of the directions. Put about half full, and then you use this. It's 1 gallon, which this is a gallon, for every 100 gallons of tank capacity. Well, we only have a 40-gallon tank, so we only need just a little less than half of this. So we've got a funnel to put it in the system, so we're going to attempt to do that.
So we'll get 2 uses out of it, which is nice. They say you should do this every 6 months to a year, and especially after you've stored it throughout the winter, or if you stored it for any long period of time. What ends up happening is that water, even if your tanks are empty, you can still end up with some bacteria in there. And a lot of people think, well, if I use a filter anyhow from the hose, what's it going to matter? Well, the filter is good for filtering the water that comes from the campsites or what have you, but it doesn't do anything to filter the water that's actually in the tank or to clean the tank. And what ends up happening is bacteria ends up growing in there, and if you don't end up cleaning this or filtering it out, you can end up getting really sick. So it's really important that you clean this. A lot of people, I think, are always concerned about, the black tank and making sure that gets cleaned and what have you, but really it's the freshwater tank. If you're drinking water, brushing your teeth, showering, whatever, you want to make sure that you have some clean water. So it's a really important step to do.
Get more of it on me than in the funnel. Alright, so we're filling up the other half of the tank because we want the tank full. That way it'll, as we're driving the 4 hours to get to the campsite, it'll swoosh around and coat all the sides within the tank. And then once we get there, you'll run the faucets, each of the faucets, for about 3 minutes, because you want the solution to come up all the way through your piping, and then you let it sit for 30 minutes. So we won't touch it. And then after 30 minutes, you drain the system, and then you add fresh water again, and you drain it a second time. You open through your pipes, and we'll go over all that once we get to the campground. With the bleach, because you don't want to drink bleach, so it has to sit for 12 hours. So usually most people do it overnight. Then the next day you have to flush the bleach out, and then you usually have to flush your tank 2 to 3 times, so you'd be doing this multiple times. But with this solution, you only have to do it once.
All right, so we are now at a rest stop about, I don't know, an hour south of where we started. So the tank has had more than enough time to swish around. Really, you only have to drive it around the block. But since we were already coming down for a few hour drive, we just figured we let it swish around as much as we could. And now what we're going to do is just open up all of the faucets. So all that's doing is taking all the diluted water with the chemical and then running it through the lines and letting it get all through there.
Turn on your water pump and then open your faucets. So the directions say to run it for 3 minutes now and then let it sit for 30 minutes. We're running it for 3 minutes now. We're going to drive to the campsite and then we'll let it sit for 30 minutes there. So we are now at the campsite. We have been sitting here for 30 minutes. So now we're going to turn on the water pump, run all the faucets again for 3 minutes, and then we're going to drain the tank, fill it full of fresh water, and then clean that out, and we should be good to go. Now we have drained it. You can see the water on the ground. Drained out the clean water, or the freshwater tank, and now we're refilling it. So, and one thing that the chemical that's in it, it's biodegradable, so you're totally fine letting it out.
So down below in the description, we'll leave all the steps. It's really not that hard. It's just a little time consuming. If we could do it again, we wouldn't have brought a full tank of water with us,
Yeah.
this far, and that wasn't the plan. It's just that we just didn't have time otherwise. We were kind of in a rush to get out here today, so we just had to do it this way, which is fine. It's just we had to go all those miles with the full tank. So just to rehash a little bit.
So you start by filling your tank, your freshwater tank, about halfway full with water. Then you put in, well, for our 40-gallon tank, it was about half a container, about half a gallon of the chemical. Then you swoosh it around, and then you turn on the faucets, let them run for about 3 minutes, shut them, let the tank sit for about half an hour, and then run the faucets again for 3 minutes. Then you empty the tank, fill it full of fresh water again, and then clean it out, and you should be good.
Yeah, they say that you want to maybe flush it one time. When you use bleach, sometimes you have to do it a couple times, and you basically are just flushing it until you don't smell the bleach anymore. Whereas here, it does have a little bit of a smell to it, so we will be able to tell once it's done. But again, it seems like it's a little bit quicker of a process because with bleach, they want you to have it sit there for 12 hours instead of this chemical that we're using that only takes 30 minutes. So really, had we not had to make this trip, we could have had this done, within
about an hour.
About an hour. So it's pretty quick and easy and pretty inexpensive. We'll leave a link to the chemical below. I think it's like $22 or something for a tub, and it's going to last us 2 different cleanings. So that's pretty much a bargain if you pay somebody to do it. They're going to charge you a couple $100s for nothing. I mean, it's simple as can be. So.
And like I said, since we didn't use bleach, we should only have to flush it once.
Right.
Because bleach, I've read online, people have flushed 2 or 3 times, and they can still smell the bleach. So. Yeah. You don't want to be swallowing bleach.
So if you have any questions about the process at all or what have you, just leave comments down below and we'll answer and be able to help you out if we can. And like I said, if you're new to the channel, hope you guys consider subscribing. We do a lot of travel and RV tips and tricks, and then also some travel type stuff. So thanks, and we'll see you next time.